I'm so excited to have this opportunity to talk to you. This is a terrific opportunity for me. I'm 80 years old. I'm an associate professor. I was for quite a number of years the head of the School of Sociology and Anthropology, and I was one of the people who started the Bachelor of Social Science program. And I thought it would just be interesting for you. My daughter did a Bachelor of Social Science degree and did an honours degree, and she has done extremely well. She's now the one of the administrative directors of the Melbourne Symphony Orchestra. So you can see that a social science degree takes you in many different ways. So my work has been about ageing, not ageing in health, but ageing and social relationships, housing opportunities, retirement income, and those sorts of things. But I want to show you now what I'm currently doing, because I think, you know, you will find it interesting, and it's something that I want you to perhaps get involved with. So today we're bombarded with isms: sexism, racism, feminism, misogyny, but ageism remains the most accepted but least understood form of prejudice in Australia, with evidence suggesting it's more pervasive and socially accepted than sexism or racism. So many women and men are discriminated against purely because of their age, despite lifetimes of service, long supporting, building, educating and protecting their families and communities. Many older people are shut off from opportunities to continue their best lives. Anyhow, now, as I've shown you on this slide, there are now lots of reports and research about ageism and recommendations for action, such as, you know, the recent Commission of Inquiry into the aged care sector. And there's lots of recommendations about legislative and regulatory changes across many sectors, calling for age inclusion in all aspects of society, change regulations, and even instituting fines and quotas. Now, despite all this talking and many legislative reforms and regulatory changes, older people needing to work confront ageist attitudes which prevent us from getting employment or professional opportunities, which in turn forces many people into poverty. And even major government-sponsored support structures, I think, continue to operate on ageist lines. How can it be that the National Disability Insurance Scheme, the NDIS, does not cover people when they turn 65? This is a time when surely our needs for health and disability support are the greatest. And we all older people, each and every day, meet the often unintended slights and hurts of ageist attitudes and behaviours, even within our own families and more generally in society. Germaine Greer many years ago argued that old women become invisible. We're ignored in shops, pushed aside in queues, and I think now there's much unconscious bias, largely just from lack of recognition, lack of contact with older people. I just want to tell you, last week I was at a big conference, and at the lunch, we're all sitting around the lunch table, and the waiter came round and asked everybody would they like white wine or would they like red wine. And they came to me and they said, "Would you like a cup of tea, dear?" So I told him I would have a margarita, but he didn't really get the message. Anyhow, I'm a social scientist, and for me, we must change our attitudes, and attitudinal and behavioural change comes from within society, not out of just changing the law. What I want to do is to change our attitudes to ageing and to change people's attitudes to older people and our own conceptions of ourselves as older men and women. most particularly, what I want to argue very much is we have to become more visible in workplaces, in television advertising, in communication organisations, just everywhere. And we have to increase the opportunities for social contact between older people and younger people, particularly children. Now, how will this happen? Well, I think we've got to seek to encourage and work to facilitate opportunities for greater social contact and relations between generations. For what I've found in my work is that it's in intergenerational relationships, particularly between older and younger people, that plays a central role in the development of attitudes and behaviours, well-being, happiness, good physical and mental health, lifestyle satisfactions, life aspirations and expectations. Many people in my research talk of the life lessons that they've so enjoyed and they've learned from their grandparents. And I'm sure many of you might have had that experience, and I'd like to talk to you about it. You could talk together with that. But more generally across society, there are now less opportunities for contacts between generations. Lots of people have families living overseas. Children have very little contact with grandparents or older family members, even within Australia. And COVID, of course, has made family contacts very difficult. And what we can see already are the damaging effects of social isolation and separation, particularly amongst older and younger people. So, what have I been doing lately? Well, serendipitously, and not on account of my academic credentials, but just because the daughter of a friend of mine sent me an advertisement for roles in the ABC production of Old People's Home for 4-year-olds. And she encouraged me to volunteer for the audition, and I was successful. What a treat. What a wonderful experience I had. Many of you may have seen the AB programs and enjoyed them, but it was more than enjoyment for me. Our experiences of 7 weeks of filming 5 days a week with children that we had never met before, it changed us all in so many ways. Many of those children had had no experience of grandparents. Their grandparents were overseas or interstate or even a long way away. Maximilian, my small friend, his grandparents are in Malaysia, and we had such good times that this family has adopted me as a surrogate grandparent. So I have grandchildren, but unfortunately they're in other states, and I haven't seen them for 2 years since COVID. But people just love that ABC program. Even now when I'm out shopping, people are constantly want to ask to take selfies with me so that they can show people that they've met me, because they love the program. And I think because of the isolation in COVID, it really showed people how people of very different generations having fun together and even finding warmth and affection with people old or young who had no kin connections at all. So this was an idea which spoke to people. And I want you to look at a short clip from our program of Old People's Homes, because I think it will show you how the sort of essential life lessons which young people can learn and discuss with older people, despite the fact that perhaps their own parents are very busy working. I mean, nowadays so many mothers work, and just being looked after by temporary people, it sometimes doesn't give that opportunity for these sort of life lessons. So now I'm going to see if I can get you on to talking to on the share screen space.
Look. That spells love.
Ah, yeah. Oh, you got the yellow.
What is love?
Love is something very difficult to describe, but
No, it's not. It's easy peasy, lemon squeezy for me.
Is it? Well, you better tell me what it is.
Okay, it's hugs and kisses.
Hugs and kisses. That's exactly right. I couldn't put it better myself, love. It is.
Rita, what is love?
Love to me is feeling happiness, joy, giving, sharing and trusting.
What is love?
Love is very complicated, isn't it? Because love is in your heart, but love is also in your mind, and love is just through the whole of your body, don't you think?
When I love too much people, sometimes the love gets mixed up with my mind.
Does it?
Yeah, my mind goes to the place my love is, and then I all get muddled up. And I say to my sister, I don't love you, but I mean I love you. It's just that it's all mixed up.
Oh.
What is loneliness?
Loneliness when no one's around and you're all on your lonesome. That's loneliness. Wow.
What is loneliness?
Loneliness feels like you're at the bottom of a well by yourself. And that's why it's good.
Or if you live alone by yourself and you have no one to call.
Sometimes I think, well, I am a bit lonely, but then I think about my friends and how much they love me.
And then it makes you happy again.
And that's what brings happiness, comes washing over me again.
I was loneliness.
Abel, being lonely
Yeah?
is not having any friends,
Yeah?
no family.
Yeah, and then no
that's
one in your
loneliness.
house. And you're just by yourself.
Yes, that's loneliness.
Yeah. What is not loneliness?
Loneliness is the big thing when there's no one around to give you those hugs and kisses. Even though you can know there's people that would like to if they were near you, and they're just not around. And I think that's the biggest thing for loneliness. But if you've still got some friends around that you can see every so often, it helps you get over loneliness, especially if you've got lovely little children around. They make it even brighter than ever.
Anyhow, I do hope that you enjoyed that, because you can see the possibilities of interaction between older people and young people, discussing some of the things which they haven't really thought about and don't really get much airing at home. So that sort of close connections between older people and young people is very good. But what's to do? How can we do this? You can't hope that people will have the time to organise this. So we've got to create institutionally fostered, even financially created opportunities for greater possibilities of intergenerational relationships. Now, so what have I been doing? Well, I've got together with some people at the University of Queensland and some other people who are very interested in this issue of intergenerational relationships. And we formed an organisation called the Australian Institute for Intergenerational Practice. That's AIIP. And it's about practice. And that's what I'm hoping some of you will become involved in. And I'm going to give you at the end of this talk the details for how you might get in touch with AIIP, because they have training courses, they have regular webinars talking about what people are doing. So what we're doing is creating connections between older people who are living in residential care. So in old people's homes, over 55 homes, those people, because we're trying to make the opportunities for them to get to know younger people. So we're matching up, say, people in an old people's home with young people in a school. And we've been doing it with primary schools. And I want to show you some clips because you'll see what we've been doing. Now, perhaps the most fantastic thing about COVID, though it's divided us all, is it means that many older people's homes and schools particularly now have the technology to do these sort of Zoom programs. Now, we're doing it. We've only just started doing it in the last 6 months, but we started early and then we had to stop for COVID, and now we've been starting again that we can do it. But I want to show you some of the clips because this will give you an idea how we can build relationships through schools and older people's homes, which will, I'm hoping, this is my big hope, that we will be able to change people's attitudes and behaviours towards older people. And I want to show you one that we've done.
Okay, sure. It was interesting because we got to know what they did back in the olden days and how they did stuff. Okay, thank you so much. I felt surprised of how old they were.
Yeah, some of them were in their 90s, weren't they? And they were talking really well. Chase.
For their age, they're very lively and they know a lot from their past.
Enough.
I was surprised at how the old people actually spoke very well and listened to low-based.
I'm surprised they're really old because people on the news have celebrities have been dying 82 age, and I'm surprised that they have survived.
To be honest, I actually felt absolutely terrified at first, but then in the middle of the Zoom, I started to feel that it was okay, everything's going to be fine, and I like talking to them.
I was surprised of some of their jobs, and one of them is the same as my grandmother and my great-grandmother's age, and one of them is 1 year older.
I felt like it was kind of interesting because we got to learn new things about them and meet new people.
That was nice. I think that was a very special experience because we got to meet a few different people and they had a few different experiences, didn't they? And we've got a bit of a summary on the board with some of the people that we met today. We'll take a record of that so that we can build on.
We could
what I want you to see is that these are Year 5 students at Ashfield Primary School, and linking with a local old age care facility, and what it has meant. I think it's just fantastic when you see the immediate possibility of opening up children's ideas to what older people can be, and hopefully they will take those ideas back into their families. Now, I want to show you another one because it shows a little bit more, and I think when you see what in effect it has, I want you to be able to get involved in doing some of these things. We're slow starting, but I think if we can get greater support from the education department and from organisations, this is terrific. I'm very excited about it.
What was your first job?
I was a carpenter builder.
What was the first thing that you built?
A sandwich, I think.
Did the other ladies get an opportunity to attend a high school?
I went to school till I was 15, then I had to leave.
What were some of the consequences if a girl tried to do something that only boys were allowed to do?
Ladies always, when they worked, got less money than the men.
How long did you study at Teachers College?
My day it was 2 years at Teachers College.
I'm not sure what happens when a female becomes a CEO. Do they get the same pay?
I believe that they should, because they're doing the exact same job and maybe even better.
So do I.
What were your thoughts about women in the land army?
Somebody had to fill it because the men all went to war. So it left the women to do the work. What do you want to be?
An architect.
Yeah, they got women architects.
Over the past 5 sessions, we have learned over 50 new words.
We've learned over 30 new phrases altogether. Thank you for increasing our vocabulary and knowledge of words.
I've got my mum and my grandma here today. This is my mum behind me and my grandma next to her. Hello.
Hello,
Okay. You can see that, it's creating communities with older people. I did some research in about 2004 in old people's homes. And that the large proportion, in my research, I found that 68% of people had not had a visitor in the last 12 months. So these is the opportunities to build connections, particularly in local areas. So, these were in Greystanes with a local school and a local aged care facility. So I've just got one more to show you, but these are such good opportunities to demonstrate to you how change can happen, because what we're talking about, not just for ageism, but for racism, for sexism, all of these isms are people's attitudes and behaviours are changed by visibility and social contacts. So I want you to be aware that whatever we can do, whatever you can do to actually develop these sort of social contacts within communities is really our work for the future. So just I want to show you this last one.
How old are you?
I'm 96. I'm 86, am I? No, I'm not 86, I'm 96.
No, you're 86. You are 86 years older than me. Hello, my name is Shock. And can you tell me if you had a job back in the olden days?
I worked in the bank.
Did you use computers back then?
No, I had to use my brains. We had adding machines, but we never had any. You get a machine and you put the fingers on and they'd give you the result. But you had to use your brain. They never let you use those. You had to do it yourself. And I did, and I ended up with a very good brain.
Were computers invented when you went to work?
No, we had no computers then. We were too young. The computer hadn't been invented.
Their brains was the computer means.
Yes, that's right. The brain was a computer.
That was the first computer.
Another student.
Would you listen to music?
I still play the piano. That's how I love music. I have played music for many, many years, and I love it.
Was that your favorite instrument from when you were a kid?
I played the piano most of the time because I was taught the piano. But a lot of people play pianos, and it's lovely.
Well, you see, there's lots of discussions that you can have, and we're trying to get these things operating in all states of Australia. It's a national organisation, but I did want you to see what we are doing, because I think this is a big opportunity for us to actually connect people who otherwise would not have an opportunity really to talk about life lessons and these sorts of issues, because I think isms are changed through visibility and social contact. And I want to encourage, I'm a sociologist, I want to encourage more people to get in touch with each other. I would really like to hear what some of your students might think about the sorts of work that we're doing at the moment. Can I connect? Can you connect the questions that I can hear and I can respond to?
I can easily do that. I'll switch on my video. Thank you, Diana. Thanks. You handled it all like a pro. Everything went well.
I think. Did they enjoy Did people enjoy? Anyhow, we'll see whether they enjoy seeing what we're doing, because I think this is all building blocks.
Yes.
And we've all got to work together. Caroline, you're doing a fantastic job actually getting people to understand what are the issues. And that's the important thing, because without understanding, you can't get anywhere. But these are the things which I think will move isms out of our life.
That's exactly right. Now, Diana, I have a student who's posted a question in the chat to me. So are you happy for me to read it out to you?
I'm happy.
Yeah, it's a bit lengthy, so I'll just read it out. So this is from Romy. Diana, this is a really great space to demonstrate how intergenerational sharing and learning can foster connection and well-being. As a person living with severe illness, I have often found myself in communal spaces such as public hospital wards, where either the aging population is there for safe shelter and or treatment or illness. Other friends of mine who live with illness have shared similar experiences of small joys and the moments of connection and narratives of resilience and survival through intergenerational sharing of space in the hospital setting. These are mostly very joyful and caring moments. However, often there is a duty of care in this intergenerational relationship that are found to be unique to sharing a hospital ward. Some shared narratives of this relationship offer comedy and most times humility. Considering advocacy systems in the public hospital setting are oftentimes limited to social worker and medical partnership services, could there be a legitimacy in spontaneous care systems? Care systems such as a younger patient and an older patient with deteriorating condition that could instruct better consultation and valuing of older generational needs in residential and hospital care.
Roman, I think this is the most fantastic question, and your idea about creating these sort of links. It's this sort of, once we get the recognition that this intergenerational contacts are so important, I think we can start, you and everybody else in your class and me and Caroline, to actually get institutions to actually establish these linkages. And in a hospital setting, it is easy for them to actually build these iPad to iPad or, great larger video conferencing. They all have these rooms in hospitals for group discussions. And I think you can actually talk to them about doing exactly this, making the opportunity. What we're doing is it's a once a week for 1 hour. So for 1 hour, they actually meet. It's very interesting. In the ones that we've been doing, people very quickly know the names of people in the old people's home and in the children's classes. And that immediately establishes a warmth and a trust, which I think is incredibly important. What I do is I tend to, at the beginning of an hour, to set a topic. So we'll talk about, have you had a favourite pet? Or what was the best holiday that you've had? Or you could use this to talk to people in the types of settings which you unfortunately have been in, to talk about how long have I been here? What have I been doing? And to make freedom connections online, which are very helpful to create understanding.
That's terrific, Diana. Thank you. I think that was an excellent reflection and question, as you said. I want to exercise my right as your colleague to ask the next question, if that's okay, and just give time for everyone else to formulate any questions, especially the groups that are working on ageism. I wanted to get your opinion on the infantilization of older people and how terms like cute, or even establishing people's competence, even if they are older, how that can, what kind of impact that might have in terms of, just how people might be on the receiving end of those kinds of comments and those kinds of attitudes.
Yes, well, it's like when the waiter was addressing me as dear, when he didn't address anybody else like that. It's that infantilizing and patronizing manner to older people. I think you can only overcome it with continuing social contact, by people recognizing these are not children. They are just as competent and as able to address anything. Now, I think your point about how sometimes older people are infantilized in television programs, I think is a really, it's an unfortunate faction. I mean, some years ago, people used to make old men always crabby old men. So we have to get more representations of people living worthwhile, giving to the community, able and absolutely up to the mark in television shows, on television ads. They're not just television ads for what the local aid, I'm amazed at how many television ads are about crematoriums and looking after people when they die. We have to show people living lives, and that will meet ageism. I mean, it would be interesting for some of your students to actually do some work, if you can, with any of the advertising agencies, because what is their view? Why don't they include older people in the ads, and only for using aged care, special foot rests or things like that? I mean, we need people living lives, because that's what the vast majority of older people are doing. I mean, we've even been doing some with people who are suffering with dementia, the possibility of explaining that, it's not that they're stupid, it's just that there is, unfortunately, a life development which is making it difficult. but it will enable people to understand that ageism is about people from 60 years onwards, 65 years onwards, and increasingly with longevity, people are living very productive lives into their 90s. And we want young people and families and communities to be able and embrace those possibilities of giving us a life. That's really, what we all want.
Terrific. Thank you, Diana. Does anyone else in the group have a question that you want to ask Diana directly or through the chat, and I'll read it out? We have a few minutes for a couple of questions. So we have a question in the chat, Diana, I'll read to you. This is from Abby. Hi, Diana. I watched All People's Home for 4-year-olds. It was a wonderful and enlightening show. I'm curious if the program has continued in homes and preschools since the end of filming.
It has. I mean, Maximilian came to see me just yesterday to tell me about how he's doing at school and how the school holidays were. So it's lovely. And the really wonderful thing too is it has created more friendships amongst the older people as well. So that's a very, very good thing. And I don't know whether you know, at the moment there's an ABC, well, it just finished last week, but there's an ABC program continuing this series, and this is about Old People's Home for Adolescents.
Yeah.
And
yes.
I think, look, it has created incredible interest in people having contact, much more contact with adolescents than is usually the case. So it's about spreading it across society, that regardless of kin, it doesn't have to be your kin to make social contacts and to become part of somebody else's life. Maybe not on a daily basis, but maybe, once a month or a couple of times a year, where people can become involved in the communities. I'm trying to put a lot of effort onto getting councils, local councils, to get involved in these sorts of programs, because these sort of communities can be very strong, but also because we have the advantages now of the technology, these connections can be built up online. And I think both those options, the face-to-face within, say, local communities and these connections online, can be a very, very important way in which we as a whole society can combat ageism and bring us all together to recognise the value of people regardless of their age or their capacity.
So true. We have time for one final question. Would anyone like to ask Diana a question?
I want to have this opportunity. Can I just give you the details for the Australian Institute of International Practice? Because I think this is an opportunity for some of your students to perhaps, get online, perhaps do some of their webinars, and maybe if they're interested, to become members of the AIIP. Now, you can contact them on the net on aiip.net.au. Carolyn, can you put that up?
Yes.
I don't know how to do that now.
I've put it, I've just put it in the chat.
Yes. So it's aiip.net.au. And on email, because, you might like to just get in touch by email and they'll be able to come back to you. It's admin, ADMIN, at aiip.net.au.
Got it.
Now, what you can do is to ask for what they have a program of events, and they will be able to send anybody on email what's coming up, what sorts of programs, because we have webinars, we have training courses that people can actually become involved in. Because I see this as an exploding way of creating greater visibility and social contact between older people for whom social isolation is really quite a difficult thing, and younger people who, as we've seen, social isolation affects very, very much. And in between, their families cooperate and become involved as well. Because I think it's through these sorts of changes that the isms in our society, which are so destructive, can be met and overcome.